Hello everyone, welcome back to another election prediction video. So in this video we're going to be doing a President Joe Biden versus Vivek Ramaswamy matchup. So Vivek, he's a much younger candidate. He did have a good debate performance. Some say he even won the debate, but it's kind of conflicted that either Haley or Vivek won the debate. I'd just say it was two winners, Vivek and Nikki Haley. I think that's the best way of settling it. Because there can't be multiple winners of a debate when it's like a ton of candidates running at once. But okay. So Vivek, he has an issue. Most of the policies he supports are just extremely unpopular with the American public and the median voter. So I think he'll definitely have a very, very hard time at appealing to the independent voters in most states. And not to mention that right now I really think he would struggle with them quite a bit. I think like as more and more people hear about his policies, it's just going to continue to make him appear more negative. I mean, we've seen that with DeSantis at first. A lot of people really liked him, especially independents, but as he talked more and more on the campaign trail, he went down because of how right-wing he was. Now Vivek, he's even more right-wing than Ron DeSantis is. Even more right-wing than Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a lot less right-wing than DeSantis and Vivek, and he's doing much better than both these candidates. So, with the issue with Vivek is he's also been confronted that he's been pretty much just lying straight up, and he's been fact-checked before by reporters on the news. So, again, he'd be a very weak Republican candidate. I'm going to be completely honest here. It's not going to be a close race if it's Biden versus Vivek. The more people hear about his unpopular policies, the worse he's going to do. I could go down the list here. So he wants to end the Department of Education. He wants to cut like 75% of federal jobs. He wants to end the FBI. What else does he want to do? I mean, he did say he doesn't support a nationwide abortion ban, but in the same interview he says that. He said it's because of constitutional reasons. But then he says if a constitutional scholar makes a good argument that it could be banned, I could be swayed by that. So again, he's kind of showing openness to a national abortion ban in that same interview. So he's sort of saying, I wouldn't support it, but maybe I would. So again, he's being quite indecisive on that issue. He should just straight up, he says he doesn't support it or something, which would give him a lot more support in a lot of these states. And the biggest issue of all, he wants to raise the voting age to 25. Saying that would boost youth turnout to a level we've never seen before. Because when a group hears a politician wants to take away their right to vote away or put a barrier up for it, we see voter turnout go massively in that group against that candidate. So, again, even though he says there'll be a civics test or something, that's still going to energize the youth turnout that go to levels we've never seen before. It really would. So, again, I'm just going to preface this by saying I think he'll do terrible with independents. He's too right-wing to win an election, and let's just get right into it. So the first state, Alaska, honestly, it would probably go down to lean Republican. I'm actually serious about this. I think Vivek would only win Alaska by like 4%. I think it'll keep shifting Democratic. Trump only won the state by 10 points here. And with Vivek Ramaswamy, he's extremely right-wing on the issues, and he supports a lot of unpopular policies. I have no doubt that with independents, would probably go to Biden here by a bit and shift this race down to lean Republican. So again, a very close race in Alaska. In Iowa, this state really hates Joe Biden. It's just shifting more and more Republican every year. But again, Vivek would just do worse with independent voters. So I see him only winning Iowa by like 3 or 4 points, which is still a pretty low margin for most Republicans who would probably easily win Iowa. In Ohio, again, it's Vivek's home state. He would have a bit of a home state advantage here. And Ohio is still a very Republican state. It's still shifting more and more in favor of the Republicans every year. But just with the underperformance of the independent voters, I see Vivek only winning Ohio by like 2 or 3 points, something like that. Maybe even only 2, I would say. In Maine at large, it would just probably be a safe Democratic state. I really don't see Vivek would have much of a chance here. Maine's second. It's the most moderate district in America, honestly. We see it ticket split all the time, and I could see independents siding with Biden here, which they would usually side with Trump in Maine second. Again, they elected Jared Golden, a more moderate type of Democrat, and in this election, they would definitely see Biden as the more moderate candidate compared to Vivek Ramaswamy, who's just extremely right-wing on most issues here. In Nebraska's second, I really just don't even think it'll be competitive. I think it'll be like a 7 to 8 point Democratic victory. Could even see Nebraska's first going down to likely, because it is only a Trump plus 11 district. It'll definitely go to likely with Vivek. In Colorado and New Mexico, just traditionally Democratic states, I really do not see them being competitive in this prediction. Just I think Vivek would alienate a lot of voters in both these states with his very right-wing positions, and these are typically center-left. So New Mexico's center-left state, Colorado, very left-wing state, so progressive. Virginia, yeah, Vivek would really have no shot here either. I think Biden would quite easily win Virginia against Vivek Ramaswamy. In Georgia, again, we saw that when you run a really bad candidate in Georgia, they really vote against them. With Herschel Walker is a terrible candidate, and voters just rejected him at the same time electing a Republican governor. So again, Vivek would have no shot in Georgia. I could see black turnout being very high against him, especially youth turnout. We would see it surge in Atlanta and its suburbs, really just boosting up turnout for the Democrats overall in Georgia. In Arizona, this is the really, really more moderate type of state. There's still a lot of independents here, but I could see them even more going in further of Democrats, thus giving Arizona as a likely Democratic state, which is pretty significant. Nevada would probably be about a 4-point victory. I could see it almost going to likely here, especially with independents siding heavily against Vivek Ramaswamy's very unpopular policies, but for now I'm putting it as a 4-point Dem win. So Arizona more Democratic than Nevada here. In New Hampshire, I could just see it being safe Democratic as well. I just don't see Vivek appealing well to independent voters here, which you need to win in New Hampshire, and I just see the state voting for Biden by about 10 points or 11 points or so. Minnesota, would it go down to safe? No, I think it would still just be reluctantly likely. A 9-point Biden victory in the state of Minnesota. I could see a lot of the suburbs continuing to shift away from the Republicans here, while Vivek Ramaswamy could probably get decent turnout in the rural areas, but then again, he doesn't have that Trump factor, and I don't think he would get the right amount of turnout that Trump would in a state like Minnesota. Okay, which states should we head to next? Let's do the Rust Belt. So, the state of Michigan, yes, he would lose it by a likely margin. I think he has little to no shot here. He just... all the issues he supports are just so unpopular here that I could just see populist voters siding against Vivek pretty heavily here. I really don't think he had much of a chance here at all in Michigan. Same with Pennsylvania. Could see both these states going pretty heavily against Vivek Ramaswamy. Wisconsin's the only state that stays as lean Democratic, probably a 4-point Biden victory. Again, Vivek's policies are just way too unpopular. They're not with the median voter at all. He would just do terrible with independent voters. Union voters would probably go to Biden by quite a lot against Vivek Ramaswamy. Okay. Florida. Again, Florida's a lost cause for Democrats. I see this as a lean Republican state. I think Vivek would probably win the state by about 1.5% against Joe Biden, even though independents go heavily against him. There's so much Republicans moving to Florida, and the Cuban voters would probably still stay united against Joe Biden, even with a terrible candidate in Vivek Ramaswamy. North Carolina, just with independent voters alone, this is a lean Democratic state. I just don't see Vivek Ramaswamy making any inroads here. I think most independent voters would happily vote against him in this state. I just don't think he has a real legitimate chance. And even the state of Texas, with youth turnout going extremely high, especially with him wanting to raise the voting age to 25 and requiring a civic test to get the right to vote. Again, like I said before, when you take away a group's, or you threaten to take away a group's right to vote away, that causes that group's voter turnout to go sky high in elections. So Texas would definitely flip in this scenario by a tilt margin just because of how terrible of a candidate Vivek Ramaswamy would be. Republicans would be making a huge mistake if they were to nominate him in 2024 or 2028. That's pretty much handing the White House to the Democrats no matter what, because I just don't see him winning an election with all these policies he supports. And if he decides to flip-flop on them, he'll just be known as a flip-flopper. And Democrats would still hammer him over supporting these policies in the past. So I just think he's an unwinnable candidate. He has no shot in a general election. I don't even know why he's running, honestly, because I just don't see a path of victory for him unless he's running against like the worst Democrat ever. That's the only way he could win. But overall, he would just get destroyed in a general. He has no shot at winning. I'm not going to sugarcoat things either. He just has zero chance. Terrible candidate. But overall, if you disagree with this video, leave it in the comments section below, and I would highly appreciate it if you were to subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. We're so close to hitting 1,000 this year. I think we could honestly do it. But other than that, I'll see you all in the next video.